very badly. I mean, but yes, you should, one should have, there's no template as to how one can do it. It could be an incident, it could be a joke, it could be a conversation. I start many of my articles with conversations. I heard someone saying something, but then you can't just randomly start it. It has to have context. Everything has to flow from there. So what I would say is actually write your article down first, write your body down first, and then think what part of this can be given an interesting beginning. Most people do the other way around. They try to get a beginning in and spend so much time at the beginning that they, forget about the rest of the copy. I don't know if
Yeah.
that works for you.
Thank you.
So the next question is from Kunal. He's asking, what do people like to read more? Long form detailed guide or shorter articles that just tell the reader what they want?
This is oh man, if we knew the answer to that, all of us would be best-selling authors. No, it depends. A lot depends. You see, there is this lovely myth that goes around that people are very busy and people don't have time to read nowadays. That's not quite correct. J.K. Rowling will write a 900-page Harry Potter book and people will read it. They'll pay 700 rupees for it to read it, right? Stephen King will write a book which is 1,000 pages and people will pay to read it. What do you do on Facebook or Twitter? You read, right? You read. So this whole theory that people don't have time to read is fundamentally flawed. That is incorrect. What do they like to read more, long stories or short stories? Is a very tough question. It depends on how important the thing is for them. Like for example, if you just want to find out about, say, OnePlus has launched a phone and what price is it available and where is it available at? If that's what you're looking for, then perhaps you'll be happy with a 200 word story, right? Launched at this price, available from here. So many variants. Done, dusted, baat khatam ho gayi. But if you are looking at an article which wants you to tell you, you're looking for an article which will help you decide whether you want to buy the OnePlus or not, then perhaps you're looking at something longer. The challenge, in my opinion, is there is no perfect time. We have all kinds of researchers. Researchers will say people don't like scrolling more than 2 or 3 screens, or people don't do this and people don't do that. That's a load of tosh. That's a load of tosh. Okay. The simple fact is, if you're making a compelling enough case, people will read. You have to remember that. That's why writing is such hard work. You don't write 4,000 words because someone says the word limit is 4,000 words or 2,000 words. No, you don't write it. You write 2,000 words because you feel each of those 2,000 words is necessary. You think they are necessary. If you're delivering value to the reader, people will read it. Even if it is wrong, even if it is long, beg your pardon. If it's wrong, I hope nobody reads it. Even if it is long, people will read it. So there is no ideal length. Sometimes you get what you want from a single tweet, right? A tweet is about 256 characters. You've got your answer. Sometimes you can read 10 reviews and you still can't make up your mind, each review being 2,000 words. So the important thing is relevance. If you think you have enough information to tell people, then you can write a long article by all means. But do not write for the sake of writing. That is a big problem. And do not be. This is a long write-up. This has got to be 2,000 words. No, no. If you can if you can give me a good summary of a phone in 200 words, no one happier than me. No one happier than me. Actually, the only reason why people say you should write shorter articles is because nobody likes to waste their time, right? It's in a way you're respecting the person's time. So Steve Jobs said, the only thing we have is time. So when you're writing a shorter article, in a way you're respecting the person's time and you're saying, fine, this is what you need to know. You don't want extra. If you can do that, good for you. What is the minimum information you want to give? Is that going to fit in 200 words? Is that going to fit in 5,000 words? That call you have to take. Does it make more sense to put one big article in 5,000 words, break it up into 20 articles of 250 words each? Call you have to take. And that's where we go back to the first question. You got to figure out your audience. Do you think they have that kind of time? If you think that what you're writing is important enough and people have time, well, actually, no. If it's important enough and you're writing it well enough, people will make time. I mean, that's something you got to remember. People will make time for you if what you're saying is important. There are no word limits, there are no word counts, unless there's a space constraint. Do what you think works.
Okay, sir. Thanks. That was very helpful. So
You're
the
welcome.
next thing is that someone is asking that why did you choose writing as a career?
I still don't know. No, uh, no. I'm an absolute disaster. Uh, I'm as well ordered as the books behind there. It's totally crazy. I I'm a BCom. I'm an MBA. My first job was in public relations. I have done stuff for WWF. I have WWF as in the World Wildlife Federation. I was the editor of a cricket website for 2 years. Um, why did I choose writing as a profession? I was comfortable doing it. I think it's one of those things which you're not trained for, fortunately or unfortunately. In school, nobody ever tells that's one of the ironies. In school, nobody ever tells you could grow up to be a very spiritual person. You could turn out to be a writer. Everyone tells you you can be a doctor, you can be an engineer. No one says you can be a Formula One driver, you can be a good tennis player. Well, maybe they do nowadays. Play tennis, you'll get admission in a college. Whatever rationale, I don't know that. But I came from a slightly literary family, and mom is a Vedic Sanskrit scholar. Dad was in English literature, so there were lots of books around. I used to read a lot. So I think I had a decent command of the language. I could write a little, um, uh, and it was more a case of discovering that people were ready to pay me to write, and I'm still very surprised at it. Actually, I'm still very surprised at it. I didn't go with this big focus saying, "Oh my God, I'm going to be a writer." It wasn't that. It was more like, "You want me to write? You want to pay me for it?" Wow, wow, you're serious? It is more like that, to be very honest. No great planning. I wanted to be in the government service when I was young. I cleared a few exams. I didn't join for whatever reason. Different story. I wanted to be in public relations. I wanted to be in advertising. My first job offer came from HTA. Didn't take it because they weren't giving enough money. Then I wanted to be in public relations. I don't know. I guess we all figure out stuff as we go along. I'm one of those very sorry.
So sir, the next thing is this is from the same person. I forgot to mention his name. Is Arpit. Few means
Yeah.
in one question there are three parts. I'm a tech blogger. What should be the basic qualification, and what all resources does a person need to write about tech or make videos about tech? Same thing, kind of.
Okay. So he wants to know what are the qualifications for a tech blogger and what resources are needed to be a tech blogger, right? Yeah. Okay. So what qualifications you need to be a tech blogger? Absolutely none. Absolutely none. It's a wonderful, wonderful open world, and I still do not know what's inside a phone, and I'm going to be very blunt. Of the writers that I rank as among the best in the country, not in the country, in the world actually, so the best tech writers in the world, tech bloggers in the world, they do not know. They're not engineering specialists. Okay, so there's this big assumption that you should know technology, you should have studied engineering to write about technology. No, you shouldn't. You can write about anything. You can write about anything you wish. You have an opinion on anything you wish if you think it's worth expressing. If you think it's worth expressing, that's going to be the important thing. Do you write because you have something to say? You don't write because I want a URL somewhere which I can put in my bio data. No, that's not how you write. You don't write to impress people. You write because you have something to say. If you have something to say, then the only qualification you need is, well, unfortunately, is language. You should be able to express it, right? And all of us know, we all of us have at least one language which we are comfortable with. If you're not great in English, a lot of us are not great in English, and there's nothing wrong in not being great in English. Yeah, It's a weird language. I prefer speaking in Hindi, to be very honest. But well, there it is. If you can't do it in English, do it in Hindi, do it in Bengali, do it in Assamese, do it in Tamil, wherever. Have something to say, have the means to say it. That's the only qualification you need to be a tech blogger. Okay, do you understand technology? Maybe not in depth, but if you can understand how it works. For example, someone like me, if you open a phone and say, okay, Nimish, here's the phone. What are these parts? And I will say, I don't have the slightest idea. But I will tell you, if the phone is looking good as per me, I can tell you if the phone is working properly, is doing these things right, is doing those things right. I can tell you what flaws are there in the camera usage experience. It's like you don't need to know filmmaking to write about films. You need to be able to see films. Tech blogging is a bit like that. You should be able to experience a device. You should be able to convey the essence of what you have experienced. Of course, if you're an engineer and you want to open up devices and do everything, then obviously you need some technical knowledge. But by default, is there a qualification for being a tech blogger? No. You should just be aware of technology, and by aware, I mean you should know what technology does to you and to other people and to your lives. You should have something to say, and you should have the language to say it. That's pretty much. Resources. That depends on what you want to do. Like if you want to just write about, if you just want to review apps, then perhaps all you need is a phone and a laptop. You can experience your apps on your phone. You can write about them on your laptop. You can post them. You're done. That's all you need. If you need a lot more, if you want to review phones, say you want to review devices, then you will have to either have a lot of contacts, or you should you'll have to build up a relationship with the brand so that they send you devices which you can review. You hire them. Alternatively, you hire sales, as a lot of people do, but that's extremely expensive. Do you want to have a YouTube? If you want to have videos, do you want to have a YouTube channel? Then of course you have to invest in a camera. If you don't want to have it, fair enough. Just your laptop and just your phone can do. So actually, there's no. That's one of the beauties of the internet. You don't need a very hefty investment. You're not defined by your investment. If you're not investing a lot, it doesn't mean you can't do well. If your content is like the good old line, content is king. That actually works. That actually works. If you have something to say, you are saying it well enough, when it's relevant enough, people will pay attention to you. They're not going to say, oh, the font on the page is not very good. The effects in the video are not very good. They're not going to worry that much about it. Yes, there will be a stage. I'm not saying you can get in, you can just go and write writings full of spelling mistakes. If it is difficult to read, then there will be issues. Or if you put up a video where people can't hear you speak clearly, or they can't see what you're saying is pixelated, then that's an issue. That's understandable. So what I'm saying is, there's no minimum, there's no maximum investment out there. It depends on what you want to do. You can go out there with what you have. What the, what really matters is what you want to say, why you want to say it. That's it. That's all the resources. That's all your qualifications.
So, sir, his last question is that should a college pass out student start blogging as their main job?
It depends on how much they're earning from it. Yes, why can't they? Why can't they? Why can't they? I mean, if you think you've got, you can build a following. If you think you've got enough things to say, if you think you have, shall I say, I won't call it the courage. I would simply say the ability to communicate consistently and to write consistently and build an audience. Yes, of course. But yes, do keep in mind it almost always takes time. It's not going to happen. It's not like it's not that the resources are going to come overnight. It takes time. I mean, it's a perfectly legal employment. It's a perfectly legal employment profession, whatever you call it. Just remember, it takes time.
So, sir, so now I'll do a few questions of my own. There are two questions from my side. First of all, is we've seen you're an avid reader, right? So,
Yeah.
does reading influence you or help you in some manner while writing or contemplating about the articles?
Yes, of course. The most important thing any writer can do, any writer can do across the board is read. You know, reading is like food. For a writer, reading is like food. If you don't read, you won't be able to write. It's not just a matter of style or getting ideas or anything. It is simply being aware of the language. It's simply, you're putting more words into your head. You're putting more opinions into your head. You're putting more people inside your head. The expanse of knowledge you have, it just widens when you're reading. So I would say reading is massively, massively important. The important thing to remember is you do not have to read about the subject that you are writing about. That's not necessary. You have to read about what affects you, because what affects you is what you will remember. I love reading about cricket. I love reading about football, which is why there's so many references. I mean, I call the iPhone camera, I think I compared him to a Barcelona football player once. Iniesta, I compared him to Iniesta now. I mean, people said, wow, how creative. I said, no, it's not wow, how creative. I just read more about football. My references are more towards football. It's what it's what stays in your head. If you read a lot, it goes inside your head. And if you read what you like, I mean, of course, there is stuff which we read for the sake of information. I may not want to read about a certain phone, but I'll have to read about it because I'm reviewing it. That's essential reading. That is the information level of reading. But then there is the reading which influences your writing, and that's where style comes in from. That's where tone comes in from. That could be the authors you like. Could be Ayn Rand, could be Alexander Dumas, could be Chetan Bhagat, could be anybody. I mean, but yes, uh, if you don't read, you're going to have some problems writing, major problems writing.
And sir, are there any tips for young bloggers? Like I'm saying, I know a few people as well, but I'm one case. It says that when I was like 10 or 11, I was unaware of all this. Suddenly, this something started. I've got a YouTube channel. I'm working on sites. So, are there any young people? As in, no, I understand people who are in college, they'll have some experience, but like those who are like 14 and or 15, they're just in school and they're trying to do something in tech, be it writing.
Are there any? What's your question? I mean, are there any tips for people who are trying stuff when they're
Yeah,
young?
yeah,
That one?
yeah, exactly. Means, what are your tips? Means, what do you think will help them?
Oh, it's kind of look. The problem is it's such a disorganized space. Blogging is a disorganized space. You have people who are 16, 17 doing very well. You have people who are 80 years old who are doing very well. So I don't think there's any, like, again, I said, same thing about writing. I don't think there's any set template where you can say, okay, do this. This will help you. Do this. This will help you. No, there's nothing. What you're going to end up with is, you got to have a very clear idea of what you want to do. A lot of problems occur because people start out with something, then they see it is not working out, then they switch stream and try to go to somewhere else. Then that doesn't work out, then they go back to what they were doing. And there's a lot of time lost over there, which is why I said, even to the young gent who was saying, that should I become a tech blogger after dropping out of college? The big thing is, do you have something to say, and do you think you'll be able to say it for a long period of time? That's going to be a huge thing. Experience is overrated. It can help, but it depends on whether you have learned from it or not. If you're just staying alive for a longer period, doesn't really help. What did you absorb? Did you pick up something in that time? Did you learn? There's no point in saying, I have reviewed 60 phones if you haven't learned anything from reviewing those 60 phones. So I think experience helps, but how you use that experience is much more important. And I don't think the young crowd actually has a disadvantage. The only thing they should keep in mind is, okay, this is going to sound weird. Please do not be influenced by somebody else. Please do not be influenced by somebody else. Don't do something because, oh, he is doing it that way. Oh, he is doing it that way. No, that that space has already been taken up by that person. Okay, he already is occupying that place. The advantage you have is you have a clean sheet. You don't have any thoughts in your head which are blocking you from doing anything. Try to be as innovative as possible. Keep an open mind. Just remember, it is going. Be patient. Being patient is huge. It's going to take time, like I said previously also. It's going to take a lot of time. Be ready to be patient. If you are ready to be patient, and if you think you have something to say for a long period of time, it will work. Everything else flows from it. You need to learn a new skill. You will realize as you keep doing stuff, you'll suddenly realize, oh, perhaps my site needs something else. Or my YouTube channel needs something else. Maybe I should use a different camera. But you will figure it out by and by. Okay. That's the important thing. The important thing is to be able to learn as you go along. It's good to make mistakes. There's nothing wrong. I mean, this one of the worst things that can happen if you join an organization is you get scared to make mistakes. It's like you're in class. The worst thing about a class is you're scared to submit your home. You're scared to answer the question because you think the teacher is going to shout at you.
Yes.
That's dumb. That is dumb. That shouldn't happen. You should feel, okay, I feel this is the answer. I will bloody say it. I make a mistake. I made a mistake. Fine. Correct me if I make a mistake. Let me learn if I make a mistake. So, young bloggers, anyone, my advice is keep an open mind, keep learning. Please realize one thing, nobody is an expert. No matter what people say, nobody is an expert. We all have made our mistakes. Some of us have been a bit more fortunate than other people. That is it. There are no tips, just patience really. Patience and a bit of belief in yourself. I don't know if
That
that helps.
that was very helpful, sir. And just
Thank you.
I'll open the participants to ask any questions. I'll just those who want to ask something, they can raise their hand if they want to ask something, or we'll end it. Let's see what happens.
So, yes, sure. Is
Yeah,
having
yeah.
a byline important?
Yes, it is. Having a byline is important. But it depends on what you have a byline for. Okay. If you're basically rewriting a news item and putting it up, then having a byline is not important. OnePlus launched a phone at rupees 8,000. 40 people have written the story. The story has not been sourced by you. You have got the information from a public place. You have done nothing for that story. So then a byline doesn't count for that case, which is why in some of the sites I work for, if I feel that the author has not added something to a story, I don't give them the byline. News is not byline worthy. Okay. But yes, if you have done some analysis, if you say that, these are 6 reasons why I think the iPhone won't work, or these are 7 reasons why Google should, turn pixel into pickle, that's you should take a byline for that. Byline is important because it's like your portfolio out there. I wrote this. That's important. But just remember, just like your portfolio, you won't just put anything in your portfolio. A lot of people say, I've got 500 bylines. It's not the number. What did you do in those 500 bylines? What is coming below your name? That's huge. It's important. It's important. One of the things we always used to do is while writing is we used to say, the first thing you should do is write your name on top of the screen, saying by so and so. That'll make you write well because you'll see your name out there. That's coming below your name. Tends to work for some people.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
So if anybody has any
That's
other
it.
questions, they can ask them.
So you said,
Yeah.
reading helped you improve your writing. So do
True.
videos help improve your writing too?
It depends on what you absorb more. From what I have observed, and what most researchers also indicate, what you read tends to stay in your mind a bit longer, because you see, when you read, you're also imagining what happened. Your mind works more. You see, you're reading the words and then you're putting images to go with it. So if somebody says it's a curved phone, your mind will go into your mind will start trying to work out the kind of curve it would have, or the kind of buttons it would have. So your mind works more, which is why reading what you read is remembered more often. With videos, you're just listening and seeing. Your mind doesn't work as much because you're already seeing what is there, right? If you read, for example, if you read a story about a Sachin Tendulkar innings, or you read about a football match, the chances are you'll remember much more about what you've read than if you've actually seen the football match. Simply because your mind has worked to remember it. So videos can help, of course, but reading generally helps just a little bit more, is my experience. I mean, again, it depends on what appeals to you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
We've got
Uh,
Kunal asking a question.
Sure.
So what should a new blogger do? Like start his own blog?
Start his own blog or what? Join another blog.
Guest post on another blogs.
It's a question of resources and belief, really. If you can work with someone initially, generally what we assume is that can be good. But I cannot overstate the importance of having a good mentor. Okay, and the word is good mentor, not just a mentor. Anyone can get a mentor, but you need to have somebody who's ready to invest time in you and to make you understand. Now, obviously, should you start a new blog or should you join another blog? It depends on the resources. If you feel you have got enough to sustain yourself for a period of time, then doing your own thing makes sense. Of course it does. You're in control. You're not responsible for other people. You're responsible only for yourself. That works. You're independent. That's great. But if you feel that, okay, resources are going to be a crunch, I need to be paid, maybe I don't need enough, maybe I don't know enough, I need to learn more, then joining another blog helps, writing for another blog helps. Just remember that try and work in a place where they actually kind of help you write. That's very crucial. Uh, a big problem in a lot of places is, they try to change your writing to suit their style. You lose out your identity in those cases. You lose out your identity. Only you can write the way you write. Okay, it's just like only you can talk the way you talk. Nobody else can. So unless it is very, very important, of course, if you're joining a government organization and they have a set template and there's a set format, then obviously you follow that. But if you're doing something as open as a blog, try to go to a place which will kind of help you improve and help you improve by being yourself, not by being a better version or another version of somebody else. That's kind of huge because how you write is going to distinguish you. If I write exactly like somebody else, that doesn't make me different. It makes me like him. So depends on you have the resources to do your own thing, you think you need to learn a bit, you can join a blog, but be careful whom you join, please.
The question has come. Should I ask it?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So the question is that Pratik is asking, first he's saying hi sir. Then what is the strategy for creating an effective relationship with PR, considering all they want is positive coverage? Should agencies be our priority or the corporations? If yes, why? Agencies change from time to time and mostly they're looking for positive. I've lost a few clients because of it.
All right. Okay, first of all, I have been in PR, so I actually know how this works. So my first job was in PR. I was handling Motorola in 1996, 97. We launched the first flip phone. It was called the StarTAC. So yeah, we've been there. But it depends. First of all, should you depend on the brands or should you depend on the PRs? It depends on the relationship between the brands and the PRs. Some brands totally trust the PR. They totally hand off everything. They will say, okay, we are not involved. The PR agency does everything. We are paying them a sizable amount per month. That's their business. They need to use it. We are not going to, even if you contact us, we will just pass your contact on to the PR person and then get in touch. Some other brands have tell the PR that, okay, now the PR job is only to send releases and send the review units, and we handle the communications. And most do a mix of the two. There'll be a bit of a copcom person in the brand, and there'll be a PR agency also. Some will handle a bit, some will handle a bit here. So which one should you focus on? No rules. It depends on the relationship. So I can't really give you a tip on whom to focus on. Some brands working on the agency is better. Some brands talking to the brands directly is better. It depends on who you strike a chord with. How should you approach PR agencies in considering all they're interested is in positive coverage? We are all interested in positive coverage, aren't we? It's not. It's kind of very sad to say that they're all interested in positive coverage. Who's going to come to you and say, "Here's a phone launched by our client. We want you to hammer it"? Nobody is going to do that. No, nobody is going to do that. Of course, they are interested in positive coverage. It's their job. It's their job. And how you can approach them is by proving. The biggest thing you can do is you can prove prove that you deliver interesting content and different content. Just having a channel, just having a blog is never going to be enough. Some PR agencies go by numbers. A lot of them go by numbers because it's a simple way of saying, oh, this person's got 30,000 followers, that person's a million followers. That's great. But what I've seen is 60 to 70% of PR people, if they think you're doing something different, if they think you're doing something relevant, they will help you. They will help you. Do you need to do something positive for them to help you? No, you don't have to do anything positive. You don't have to suck up to them all the time. That's one thing that you have to remember. Just because you've got a unit doesn't mean you got to say, oh my God, this is mind blowing. This is amazing. I mean, the number of times people, every month, someone's mind gets blown. It's like a minefield out there with blown up minds. You're like, what's happening here? For God's sake. You don't have to praise them extravagantly, but as long as you can give them the impression that, look, I'm genuinely using the device, I'm writing sensibly, I'm making valid points. You can cover a device in many other ways also. This is something that I keep stressing when people say we want review units. It's not just about reviews, yeah. You can write about how the UI works. You can talk to the PR about, can I talk to somebody who designed the phone? How many people do that? How many people say, can we just find out, how why the speakers are placed here? Can we discuss a design in detail? Can we talk to how retailers are trying to sell your phone because this is suddenly very high price? Can we talk to that? You do not have to go to a PR and just say, I want a phone or I want a TV. Because you see, the fact is, those things are expensive and they get them in very limited numbers. But information, they always have. Build up your contacts through PRs by asking relevant questions. Don't ask questions just because, oh, I'm going to ask you 5 questions and my 6th question is give me a phone. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Leave it to them. That's their call. Would you like it if a PR came and told you, we think you should write like this and you should do this thing in your blog? You won't like it, would you? It's your blog. Similarly, you can't go and tell a PR, give me a phone and why have you guys priced it at this and why have you guys priced it at that? You can't. They're doing their job. You do your job. The biggest thing in a public relations you can do to build a relationship, I beg your pardon, with the public relations or any communications person is go for information, ask for information. Through that information, if they see you're using information, if they see you're not just, trying to, I want to invite your press conference so that they can get a bag of freebies. As long as they know you're credible, the moment you build up credibility, your chance will come. Your chance will come. I mean, I started writing in 1997. I got my first review unit in 2011. And and it just came. It just came. And they were like, you have to review it. And I said, I don't review devices. I never got reviewed devices, so I didn't review them. And they said, fine, you don't want to review the device, Nimish, experience it. Tell us what it's like. I said, wow, aisa bhi hota hai. So you have to build up, the term is public relations, look at the relations word. Make them feel, treat them like a resource of information, and they will treat you like a writer. That's the relationship you build. If they get you devices, if they get you your devices, that's great. If that is your objective, it should not be your objective, to be very honest. Because honestly, I don't get the idea, unless you want to buy your phone and unless you want to get the phone and sell it in the market. Everyone is reviewing a device. Okay? Take your time. It takes time. As in everything, it takes time. There should always be respect. There shouldn't ever be, what I get very disturbed by sometimes is a certain amount of ask for information and show that you're genuine. If you're credible, of course they will help you out. Yeah, of course they'll help you out.
So, sir, the next question is a bit of a metaphorical question. Vivek is asking, in a
Yeah.
photo, details are more
Mhm.
important, and he thinks that in writing, that is also the case. So, he's asking how to put more and more details into a specific article.
Well, simple. Find out more about the subject you're writing about. Whether it is using a phone, whether it is watching a movie, or if you want to put in more detail, Maybe spend more time on what you're writing about. If you're writing about a phone, use the phone much more. If you're writing about a film, watch the film 5 times more if possible. That's where you get details from. And I completely agree. I mean, we have this, I think, was it Goethe who said, God lies in the details? But so does the devil. But, well, God lies in the details. We do believe they're important, yes. But there is, how do you put it? You have to know them first to put them there. So you have to first absorb it. From where you get it? You get it through research. That research could mean reading a lot. That research could mean using a device a lot. That research could mean watching something, watching lots of videos. The more you know, the more you have to say. Quite simple. That's all there is to detail. But yes, detail is important. Well spotted, sir.
Next, Kunal is asking, how can he ask famous sites to feature his article?
How can you ask famous?
How can you ask famous sites, like tech sites are there, right? How can you ask famous sites
Feature
to
article.
feature articles?
Um, I want to write for you. Can you publish my article, please? No. I mean, there is a no template, gentlemen. It depends on each site, each publication has its own policy. Some accept contributions from outside, some do not accept contributions from outside. The important thing to remember, however, is all thanks to the internet, almost everyone has a feedback. Almost everyone has a feedback section you can send information across. What's important to remember is when you approach somebody for a story, don't simply say, I want to write for you. Try to give them something a bit more concrete. I want to write about this subject. I want to write about this subject because I know this about this subject, right? Show them that you can deliver value. If you can do that, a lot of publications, a lot of websites will say, yeah, sure, of course you can write for us. But if you're going to approach them and say, I am very interested in technology, ever since I was young, I was mad about technology, a lot of phones, I want to write for you. I'm a huge fan of you, you're amazing, you're terrific. Uh, I'm running, most people are running websites. They want content, right? So that is, if you can, you should focus on what you write for them. Most people actually end up focusing more on themselves rather than what they can do. If you can tell them how you can add to their site, you can give the site something relevant, something important. I'm quite sure most editors would love to get back to you and say, yeah, sure, why not? I mean, that's how I did it. I had no mentor, I had no whatsoever. I was like zero.
Okay, sir. So the last
Mm-hmm.
question most probably is that Akash is asking, he's got a three-part question. Have you ever felt that it is getting boring? I'm not sure what he means by it. I think he means writing.
No, no. I've never felt that it gets boring. I think that's because I do not think I know enough actually. I keep learning all the time. Not learning all the time. I keep trying out stuff all the time. I don't know whether I learn or not. But if it gets boring, then clearly you're doing the wrong job. Anything, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a cup of coffee, whether it's your favorite dish, whether it's your favorite piece of music. If it's getting boring, then clearly you made a slight misjudgment somewhere. No, writing doesn't get boring. For me, it never gets boring. And I mean, I do what? I do about 30, 40 articles a month, but no surprising. I don't know why.
And he's asking, what's the one thing that you've learned that you'd like to tell your younger self?
What's the one thing that I've learned that I would like to tell my younger self? Oh my God. Uh, no, my younger self, I would perhaps tell my younger self, don't worry too much. You're going to be alive 25 years from now and you'll be writing. Don't get too bothered, yeah. Chill kar. That's all. I won't do anything else. I haven't learned anything because you just, I mean, come on, yeah. It just, everything just spins all the time and you have to, I don't know whether you have to, but I certainly have not even this regard right here.
So the final question is that does TechPP accept contribution?
Everyone accepts contributions. I mean, does he mean financial contributions? Oh, I,
I'm not sure.
no, I mean,
So
someone's asking a question.
contributions in form of articles.
It depends on what you want to give. It's just like what I said earlier on, no? What I said earlier on. If you can say you have got something to say. Right now, we have got a staff. We are a Tech PP is a kind of it's a much smaller blog. We have got what 4 or 5 people in our team. We're a tight, small team, and we play it that way. We are not averse to accepting contributions, but because it's a small team, accommodating someone else becomes just that much more difficult. But Raju is a dream CEO. I'm sure he'll be more than happy if there's something significant coming in. If you think you have something to add, which we can't, and I'm sure there's lots that we don't do. Then yes, why ever not? Why ever not?
So that concludes this whole session, sir.
He wants to ask a question. What's his
I
name? Comrade Jones with the
Yeah,
headphones wants
he
to ask
can
a
ask.
question.
Yeah, I think JT Jones
What
was
are
there.
the? Yes,
Sir,
ask away.
sir, actually, I wanted to ask how to stick with your own style, sir. Because nowadays, whenever I do a review, most of the things that
Yeah.
people are asking is, "Bhai, gaming kaisa
Yeah.
hota hai? PUBG kaisa hota hai?" And it's kind of demotivating when you realize that you spend one day shooting B rolls, one day shooting A rolls, and you spend around 10
Right.
days with a phone. And the comments that you receive is, "Bhai, PUBG kaisa chalta hai?" Sir, should I end up should I end up giving up to the popular demands, or should I stick to what I am doing? How reviews are done, basically.
Uh, okay. Look, damn, very good question. Very, very good question. I think we have a big problem with a lot of our readers. I don't want to blame them. I love our readers. God bless them for reading what we're doing, watching what we're doing. I love doing. Thank them for that. But the problem is the ones who like your content don't tell you they like your content.
Yes, sir.
It's only the ones who want to know something else or who want to find out something or who want to find something wrong. They'll say, oh, by the way, you're holding that phone wrong. There's a spelling mistake on line number 17. There's a comma missing in line number 34. They will tell you. So I would say, my own advice is no, please do not change your style. You're writing because you feel a certain thing is important. And please look at the number of viewers. There are some people who will ask. I mean, if you've got 1,000 views and 7 people are asking about PUBG, that doesn't mean the other 993 also want to know about PUBG. Okay, that is a mistake we all about. We suddenly respond to something. Someone said something on Twitter, and we say, "Oh my God, he said it on Twitter. I must reply to it immediately." Yes, by all means. But that is just one person. Remember, that's just one person. Okay. There are lots of other people who are not actually asking whether PUBG works on it fine or not. So, yes, it can be a little demotivating, and that is something. I mean, I'm sorry, I should have said this in the group earlier. If you like someone's writing, if you think they've written something well, it just takes 3 or 4 letters, 3 or 4 words. I beg your pardon. Please tell them you've done a good job. I like this. It makes a big difference, guys. It makes a huge difference. The biggest problem the blogging sphere, the YouTube sphere is facing is there is not enough feedback. There's not enough feedback actually. You only have 2 people. There's one people saying, you're jerks, Xiaomi ne tumko paisa diya hai. And the other people who are saying that, oh my God, you're God, I worship you, I'm going to open a mandir and I'm going to like agarbattis and bajao ghantis. They're just those 2 kinds of people.
Yes, sir.
What we actually need are people to say, I like this part about your writing. I like this detail. Can you give us that information? Can you give us? So I'm assuming a lot of people in this group actually spend time online. They actually, are aware of tech and all that. So the least we can do is if you see something good, if you see a good video, and don't simply say it's a good video. This person knows a lot. That is not good enough. I like the fact that he highlighted this thing in his video. So, you're giving a bit of a learning to other people also, na? You're saying, okay, I like the way in which he holds up 2 phones next to each other. So then even another YouTuber reading it will say, oh, I see. he likes the fact that he holds two phones together. So maybe I can try doing that too. I like the fact that you make comparisons with cinema stars. I like the fact that you review headphones. You don't say, "Hey, good review. What about it was good?" Do tell me. Just give me that one more line. Just tell me. Did you like the fact that I didn't use jargon? Did you like the fact that I was trying to be funny? Did you like the pictures? Just give me that one line. It'll help me a lot. It'll help everyone a lot. And I don't understand. I mean, people have time to respond on a picture of food on Instagram. They have time to respond to a dress someone is wearing somewhere. Somebody wrote this, dude. Somebody wrote this to help you buy something. And if you can just take out that 5 minutes, this applies to everybody. It applies to me also. And I'm very laggard in that sometimes. I mean, I try my best to always get back and say, you know, I like this thing about you. I like this thing a lot about you. The headline was very good. The conclusion was nice. I love the images. I try to do that, but most of us don't. We simply leave it at good, bad. And that's not good enough, because good, bad is, I mean, it could be anything, couldn't it? So don't get it too swayed by feedback. Too much of feedback is a dangerous thing. Steve Jobs, we don't do research because people don't know what they want, right? so you can go by that. Stay with what you think is important. If you see a very persistent trend developing, then of course you would be foolish to ignore it. But just because a bunch of people are asking, I mean, don't change it. I mean, just answer them patiently, which is very good of you. Don't get demotivated by it. It's easy for me to say. It's very demotivating. I get it. I totally feel you there. I totally feel you there. But try not to get. Remember, there are lots of other people out there also. And most people who do not respond, like 60, 70 people who do not respond, generally like your content. Because they say, okay, yeah, this is nice. This is nice. Why do we need to say it? Nice is supposed to be normal, right?
Yes, sir.
It's not even something goes wrong that they say, oh, you didn't tell me this, So that way. That helps.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, sir, I think that concludes the session. Does anybody want to ask something?
Yes.
Got it.
Do you have time for one more question, sir?
Yes, of course. Tell me.
Sure. My name is Tushar, a big fan of yours. I just had a simple question. Like in a lot of your articles, you know, like how you compare the iPhone 11 camera to Iniesta, and even in a recent product review, you put in a quote about the good, bad, and ugly, right? So you know, which I'm really
Yes.
interested in, which really fascinates me, and I'm a big fan of it. But I want to ask,
Oh,
like,
God.
it's
Yeah.
really good. But
Yeah.
I want to ask.
Thank you so much.
Do you pick something like instead of a footballer, do you pick a cricketer which more Indians can relate to, or instead of the good, bad, and ugly, if you pick another movie which most Indians have seen? Basically, I'm asking the content in your article. If you relate more with
Yes.
masses, don't you get more coverage? So, do you prefer do you put in the quality, or
Good
do you want
question.
to put in content where you can connect more with people?
Good question. Very good question. So first of all, thanks, Tanya. Thanks, Tanya. Makes me feel relevant. Thank you so much. The quote was from the quote was from Dirty Harry, the one that where I said, considering this is a .386 Magnum, it can blow your head clean off. That was the quote. I don't think it was good, whichever it was, but okay. The essence of the question was, should one look at quality or should one chase quantity? The problem is nobody knows what the masses want. Do we? If we all knew what the masses wanted, we would all be sitting very comfortably with 5 million page views every day. We don't. We actually don't. The biggest challenge a lot of you are going to face is when you put in a lot of effort into a story, a lot of effort into a video, and you won't get much traffic on it. It's heartbreaking. The problem is there is no guarantee. There's no guarantee. I could have compared something to an Amitabh Bachchan, and I might not have got traffic on that. It's nice. I mean, the theory is a nice thing. Okay, you can talk about this. More people read about this. More people read about that. The problem is there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. One can play the equations, and that whether you should go for quality or quantity is really a call that is very, very individual. It depends on, who you are inspired by or who you like to follow. In my case, I'm extremely guilty of being very partial to Mr. Jobs. So I tend to go. I mean, I do not totally approve of him. I think he was a jerk in many ways, but I liked his approach towards quality. His whole thing was, there's this wonderful interview that he has, I think, with Walt Mossberg. I really wish everyone would see it. He says, it applies to all writers. It applies to anyone who's creating anything. The person who's consuming your product or your content, he's trusting you to take the right decision. You just have to think of that trust. You have to, I think quality is more important. I could have linked the iPhone camera with someone else other than Iniesta, but Iniesta came to my mind, and Iniesta fitted it best. And I would be lying to the user if I picked up any other name. So that was me going out there. And by the way, incidentally, I did compare the Asus Zenfone 2 to Rahul Dravid. That was about 3 years ago. I did compare him to Rahul Dravid. But the comparisons, these things are the slightly more, I hate the word, creative aspects. The creative aspects of writing. There, I think you cannot go mainstream with creative aspects. It just comes, it flows from you. You think Iniesta, the copy will come more smoothly. You'll realize it yourself. If you can adjust it to a bigger audience, by all means. But then my problem was, like, for those who do not know, Iniesta is a football player who doesn't seem to do anything spectacular. He just keeps touching the ball here and there, and things happen. It's like, you remove him and everything will collapse. He doesn't seem to do anything special, but you remove him and everything collapses. He was a bit like that. Now, how could I find a parallel from that from cricket? I really couldn't. That was my problem. If I had, I would have considered using it. If I had a dialogue in from a Bollywood film that was as good as Clint Eastwood saying, considering there's a .386 Magnum, which is capable of blowing your head clean off, the question you got to ask yourself is, do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk? If somebody had got a line like that in a Hindi film, of course I would love using it. But the problem is, everything doesn't exactly fit in everywhere. In a perfect world, of course, I would love to deliver quality which everyone can read. But the problem is there's a bit of a disjoint bit coming in. And then you have to take that little creative call. I've been very, very lucky that I have gotten, my CEO is Raju BP, who simply says, go ahead, be creative, go mad. And I'm very lucky that way. But I see your point of view also. I mean, the most important thing that a writer can be is to be accessible. If I could be more accessible using a different example, I would love to do it. My lack of knowledge, I didn't really have any other example there. But it's a valid point, good question. But I would generally, if I had to choose in quality and quantity, I would generally go with quality because you see, what I notice is quality affects people. Quality affects people. You might see, we have this thing, we had this meeting once in a brand. I was interacting with a brand and someone said, why are you giving more attention to this blogger? He has got 20,000 viewers and that person has got 1 million viewers. Why aren't you focusing on the 1 million user guy? I can't name the person who was speaking on behalf of the brand. It's a very big brand. And all of you have seen the guy on TV, so you can draw your conclusions. So he said, I do not care whether he has 1 million followers or 20,000 followers. What I care is, what do those 20,000 followers see? If those 20,000 followers see something and they're affected by it, they are more important than 1 million followers who will see something but will say, okay, haan, dekh liya na, ho gaya. That is the difference between mainstream and art. Art will change you. Mainstream, you will notice. Mainstream is great for information, but if you want to change the way people think, then you will have to play. You have to take in quality. I mean, it can sound crazy. I mean, when we saw the first iMac in 1997, Steve Jobs had come back and we saw the first iMac. And the biggest complaint everyone made was they were saying, there is this weird thing on this, which nobody uses. Nobody in the world uses. Why is it there on this? I was like, what is it called? This is called a USB port. What the hell is a USB port? And you're like, okay. In those days, you used to have, those serial ports with big screws. Every printer had a separate port. A scanner had a separate port. A projector had a separate port. And here we had no serial ports. We had just, what the hell is USB port? Universal serial bus? What kind of universal serial bus? And now, on paper, that seemed like a very, very bad call. I worked out because he wanted to change things. So I think if you want to get information across, then of course go for masses. But if you want to affect people, if you want people to remember, then you will have to go for that part. It will lose you numbers, but the people who see it will remember it, and sometimes that's important. I hope that helps. And thanks once again. My God, I'm floating here.
Thank you, sir.
Fellas?
So,
You're
any
very
other
welcome.
questions? We're waiting. I think there will be questions. I'm not sure.
Oh,
I think
right.
that concludes this session.
Okay, all right. That's great. That's great.
Thank you for joining in, sir. It was a pleasure to listen to this, and it was very helpful too.
I hope it was. Yeah, thanks so much. You guys also incredibly patient. Jones, I want to know what headphones you're using. DM me, please. Okay,
Sure.
right.
Okay.
Sure, take care, yeah. Take care, fellas. And oh, by the way, one final thing. Any of you ever want to get in touch with me? My Twitter DMs are open. And nimishduby@gmail.com. Okay? I'm not saying I'll be able to reply immediately. I will try. Definitely. I give you my word of honor. I'll try. Okay? All the very best, fellas. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.